Francamente non ho mai visto della gente come a Radio Libere di Agliano, mai visto, cioè gente, dei intervistatori belli esagerati.
Hi, Steve. It's a very pleasure and an honor for me to meet you here in Pistoia Blues. And I've been a fan of yours for many years, from the age of Genesis, of course, and then in your all your works. You come often to play in Italy, especially in Tuscany. I meet you many times in Florence, and maybe this means that you feel good with us and the fun we love it.
Yeah, oh, I love coming to Italy and Tuscany. I was driving round, here in a car. I hired a car, and it was so beautiful driving in the hills, going to different places. So I've been many times, and I never get used to Italy. Italy, just even where we're sitting, the buildings, everything's so gorgeous. You can't see from here, but up there, beautiful. Everything is beautiful.
Many English artists likes Tuscany in particular. You too, I mean.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, there's a famous English film, called Room with a View.
Okay, I'm very impressed of your particular way you play the guitar, even from the Genesis period. Can we say that you created a personal sound of the guitar?
Well, I think there is a sound that I think um, people that know what I do might associate with me, but I think I'm always searching for something with guitar, whatever that sound might be. But there's a way of making it be very melodic, and people talk about it flying or crying. Um, so in a way, it can be a little bit like a bird, really. That's how I see it. It's like a bird's flight and the flight of other things as well. Music can do this thing.
I remember in particular the sound of the sirens in the Fifth of Fifth.
Yeah, in a way, I think when I first recorded it many years ago, I did it in one way, but when I play it live now, it's I do it with a different kind of experience. Many years ago since I recorded that. It's over 40 years ago now. It's probably 45 years. 45 years. It's a lot of years, isn't it?
It's a long time. It's indeed. You have often revisited the Genesis songs. This means that the songs are still current after so many years.
Well, I think they're classic. People think of them as part of the heritage of rock and roll. I'm pleased to have been a part of that. Um, I think that some music, if it's well written, it can be timeless. So when I play certain things like Fountain of San Marcis, Firth of Fifth musical box, Dancing with the Moonlit Night, I think of them as songs that live on beyond the band that wrote them together. We wrote this stuff together, but um, there are many bands that continue to play this, and not just in one style. Sometimes it's rock, sometimes it's jazz, sometimes it's orchestras. The music of Genesis seems to have, originally it had legs, now it has wings.
However, I think the progressive have a future again because, as you can see, even this evening we have some young bands that plays progressive.
Yeah, I think that when we were doing the stuff that people consider to be progressive, we weren't really aware that it was going to be called that. We weren't trying to do progressive music. Um, it's um, it's a way of describing things, but you could say equally fusion was apt, or collision is an apt term, but it's different schools of thought that come together. It's time and place is flexible geography, flexible history with this music. it keeps changing. It's an ever-evolving thing, and it's music that's full of surprise as well. I think the new stuff that I write, it can only be surprising when you first hear it, of course, and then after that you know the journey. But people want to hear the journey again and experience the journey.
Okay, as you can see, you have a medieval square here, and I think Genesis music and your music too is the ideal place to play.
Well, I think yeah, quite a lot of it is classical in spirit. There's something of the orchestra about it. So melody is apt, I think, and a medieval setting can be very, very beautiful. It's very romantic, basically. I think I make romantic music. That's what I do.
This is the way that your music is so famous in Italy, because we have many romantic music in Italian. So
yes, you know, this is it, isn't it? Romantic, and you're thinking of Rome itself, and Rome itself, of course, has romantic music, the music of certain composers. I was thinking of Respighi, the Fountains of Rome, the Pines of Rome, and this was an influence on Genesis, and it's still an influence on me. Music that paints a picture and tells a story. I think that's part of what it is. Classical music calls it program music. I think rock music calls it progressive, but it's music that tells a story. Things unfold, so it's a description of something, like a kind of film, but it's a film for the ear rather than for the eye. It's an unfolding thing, scene by scene. So it's not just a short song; it can be much longer.
something like a film. So it's a story.
I think so. Yes, it's like a film, like a soundtrack for something. And of course, film music in itself was an influence on what we did in the very early days. And film, of course, has been influenced by classical music. So I think folk music influences classical music. Classical music then, you know, becomes an influence for rock and for film. So it all informs each other. They all get informed by
Influences between all the kinds of music.
all of the genres influence each other. Yes, absolutely.
I know that you follow the blues music as a boy, the Pistoia Blues.
I must admit I didn't, but I think blues music is where the sonic developments happen in rock and roll, what we now call rock and roll. It's the place where guitars first learned to scream and cry and sustain and do all those things. It was within blues at first, so it is the blueprint for rock.
And at final, can you greet the listener of Radio Libere?
Radio Libere, okay. Hi to all the listeners of Radio Libere, and for all those watching this as well. It's lovely to be here. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show.
Thank you, Steve, and come back soon.
Grazie a voi.
Grazie.
28 luglio 1976. Una sentenza della Corte Costituzionale sancisce la legittimità delle trasmissioni radiofoniche private, purché a diffusione locale. Inizia l'era delle radio libere e finisce il monopolio della radio di Stato. In ogni parte d'Italia fioriscono centinaia di nuove emittenti che danno voce a una parte del paese tradizionalmente ignorata dalla grande emittenza.